Welcome, I'm Wib Newton, and this is Self-Tech. This video is going to be looking at the strategy called the 4 steps, a strategy to help regulate your emotions in any given moment and to develop a brand new habit, different ways of thinking, different ways of believing. If you are a Self-Tech app user, you know the importance already of what we call the pain and the peace cycle and the 4 steps. And this is going to help you understand a little bit more thoroughly what the 4 steps are and how to use them in any given situation. You may have been encouraged to look at this video because of a support person. They've encouraged you to come and visit. And that support person might be a pastor, a teacher, a coach, a good friend, even a therapist. And they realize that by looking at the 4 steps, that it could be helpful for you in your life and trying to accomplish some of the things that you're trying to accomplish right now. Maybe you've just stumbled on this video and you're not really aware of what the 4 steps are or what the Self-Tech app is. Let me encourage you first to download the Self-Tech app and to look at it more thoroughly. And hopefully this particular video will give you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish through that app. When we look at the 4 steps, we're looking at saying what you feel, saying how you cope, say your truth, and say your new actions, and then follow up with doing those new actions. The first step is indeed to say what you feel. When we talk about saying what you feel, we're referring to primary emotions, not secondary emotions. Primary emotions are going to be those words such as worthless, not good enough, insignificant, inadequate, controlled, out of control. They're going to be speaking directly to violations of love and trust. Those are different than secondary emotions. Secondary emotions are usually the ones that get the most attention. They are your reactions, such as anxious, depressed, mad, frustrated, those type of words. We're going to be looking at those under another step, but this one, we're going to be looking at just the primary emotions. Now, this demands that you are very mindful, that you are aware of what really is going on inside. And many times we don't slow down to consider what's going on inside. We think we've already identified it by saying, it makes me angry. But what is the message that's making you get angry? And that's the primary emotion. And that can be looked at some other videos that I have used on the Self-Tech channel. So we talk about being aware of your body. When your primary emotions are getting fired off and you're wanting to react in a way that is going to be harmful to yourself or relationships, other people, your body is reacting, and the more mindful you can be of it, the better. Your stomach might start to get all fluttery. Your neck gets tense. Your ears start turning or burning and turning red. That's a way your body is letting you know you're in your pain. You're experiencing a violation of love and trust, love or trust. But you may not have yet slowed down your mind enough to say, oh, what is it that I'm feeling? So when you say what you feel, that's exactly what you are being encouraged to do. An example is, I am feeling worthless and out of control. The second step is to say how you cope. This is going back to how you are indeed reacting. A lot of those secondary emotions can be included in that. You're going to be maybe seeing stuff like blaming or shaming yourself. You might be looking at trying to control your environment or just escaping and withdrawing. When you say how you cope, I encourage you to say what you want to do, how you want to react in that moment, or how you typically would act in that moment. Sometimes it is even referring to what you are doing right then. An example will be, I want to cope by blaming and taking control. The third step is to say your truth. Now, these words need to directly refute or challenge the negative thoughts or feelings that you're having. In other words, you don't want to say, I am feeling worthless, but the truth about me is I can only control me. Though that last one is really not helping to refute the negative thought or belief that you have. It needs to directly refute or challenge that. And they need to be more than just words. They need to be embodied. Now, this might be something that you really have to work on. A lot of times, this is when people go to their friends or the pastors or even therapists to really help them believe deeply what they need to believe about themselves that is healthier. Um, and that's what we mean by being embodied. Your body should actually respond in a positive way if it truly is believing those more positive thoughts or beliefs. An example would be, the truth is, I am valuable and I am strong. Then the fourth step is to say your new actions and then to do them. Um, just to say your truth about you and not having it follow up with actions is really only giving the four steps a little bit of power in you. It's only changing a little bit. It's not thoroughly doing what it can do. To actually do the behavior, you're going to find yourself, some of the new behaviors is such as nurturing the people around you, valuing yourself instead of going through shaming yourself, instead of controlling your environment, maybe to seek a balanced give and take with people around you. And instead of just escaping, to stay reliably connected. An example will be, I choose to listen and to be flexible. So those are the four categories. Now let's see about putting these together. So how do you use the four steps? Well, first, let's talk about just practicing saying the words. Practice, practice, practice. A lot of times people will say, I don't want to change. That's just the way that I am. And that's code for, I don't want to do the hard work of change. The beautiful thing about our brain is it has the capacity to reorganize. It can change. The fancy word is neuroplasticity. It has the ability to create brand new roads or pathways in our brain. So the way to do that, it takes two steps actually: repetition and intentionality. So when we talk about practice, 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 we want you to repeat over and over and over again these four steps so that they can begin to all come together to develop that new pathway. An example of how to say all four steps in a very fluid way is, I feel worthless and out of control. When I feel these, I blame and I try to control. The truth about me is that I am valuable and I am strong. Therefore, I'm going to choose to listen and be flexible. Let me again encourage you to say them out loud. When you say your four steps, as this example displays, when you say them out loud, one is that you're able to focus instead of just letting them rattle around in your brain with a bunch of other thoughts. When you say them out loud, you're able to really focus on what you're doing. You're engaging other parts of your brain, your language part of your brain, your auditory part of your brain. All of these combined in an effort to develop that new road. When you find yourself in your pain, in the moment, or practicing your coping reactions, say your 4 steps out loud to yourself. Now let's pause just for a second and look at the difference between what we call co-regulation and self-regulation. Co-regulation is where you may want to say your 4 steps, like, when you do this, you make me feel, and then you go through just your feelings and maybe even justify your bad behavior. And what you're doing through that is you're hoping they're going to change their behavior so you don't have to feel what you're feeling right now. You're putting all the emphasis on the other person to change. What I want you to consider is to do what we call self-regulation or emotional self-regulation. I'm going to say my 4 steps, and I am going to regulate my thoughts, my feelings, so that I don't have to react the way that I'm reacting, and I can choose and do brand new ways of thinking and behaving. I'm going to be able to do that regardless of what other people are doing around me, regardless of what my environment is like. So whenever I say my 4 steps in the moment, I'm going to be saying those to myself, not to inform or to educate the people around me. The 4 steps are for your emotional self-regulation, not to correct other people. When you start your 4 steps, slow them down, especially when you say step 3. That truth, slow that down even when you practice, especially when you practice as you start embodying that truth, really believing that truth. I've had people that they'll say their truth and it's up in their head. And the more they say it and they allow their body to really experience it, they can begin to feel it in their heart, in their chest. It really begins to feel true. So slow down those 4 steps. In fact, as in the moment, as if you need to use those 4 steps, when you start saying the very first one, I am feeling, slow that down, and you'll notice that your ability to do your 4 steps and to emotionally self-regulate it is much more enhanced. So the 4 steps: say what you feel, say how you cope, say your truth, and say your new actions and to do it. By doing your 4 steps, you're able to regulate your emotions in the moment. By saying your 4 steps on a repeated basis, you're developing a brand new road, a brand new pathway in your brain, so that the desired thoughts, feelings, and reactions are going to become more prominent. And the old way of thinking and feeling and reacting are going to become less intrusive. I'm Wib Newton. A better self, a better world. Self-Tech.